We're going live to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, all the places, and we're recording. And got some more lovely people coming in. I'm going to do my best to press the right buttons and not press the wrong buttons, because I have accidentally closed this meeting in the past. Because pressing buttons is recording to the cloud. Record this meeting, continue. We're live, my friends. We are live. Welcome to Qualified Tutor Book Club. We run this session once a month on a Thursday at 11 a.m. GMT. At least one of us in this room, I think two of us in this room, are in other places in the world, which we'll find out about in just a second. Yes, you are, Misbah. So glad to see you. Book Club this week, we are going to be looking at Gavin McCormack's awesome and very, very beautiful and beautifully presented book, The Potential in Every Child. Now, if you've been following this book club, you'll know that I've been focusing on small and mighty books. And that's because books that pack a punch, that change the way you think without taking too much time over it, is the thing that we are able to digest right now. And even then, we happen to run a book club when many of us don't read the books, which is fine because they still give us a jumping off point for a really rich discussion. Misbah, Caroline, Kamal, Andrea, do you mind if I ask you, have you had a chance to have a look at the book?
No,
That's totally fine. No pressure whatsoever. I know that each of you, those of us in this room who I know well, have a lot to share on the insights in this, and that's going to be really interesting. But first, I am going to introduce our author. So Gavin has just kindly decided to jump on from a beach in Sri Lanka because he's on holiday, and will share with us, hopefully, if it's all right with you, Gavin, a little bit about the story behind the book and about the change that the book's making. Would that be all right with you? Tell us about
Happy, yes, whatever you wish, I will.
I love that about you, Gavin.
Tell you about the.
Go ahead. Tell us about your beautiful book.
I used to be a school principal for about 5 years. I'm a Montessori teacher, and I was running a Montessori school. And over those 5 years, I had lots of meetings with parents, obviously, as the principal does. And those meetings range from, how can I connect with my child more, or how can I let my child know that I love them without being too overly affectionate, to, how can I get them to read more? There were so many questions that were coming in to me. I'm not a parent, but I have worked with the children for 25 years. So I found myself sitting there in the office and giving all of this advice. And that was just through my experience of working in schools, but also through my Montessori training as a preschool Montessori teacher and a primary school Montessori teacher. After about 2 years of doing that, I started to write these down. And eventually I had 100 of them. I thought, look, these are, in my opinion, snippets of gold. So I decided I was going to write a book. I was going to publish all these things. And, I've read lots and lots of books. I'm sure everybody here has. And some of them are very heavy and, lots of text. And what I wanted to do was make a book that had bite-sized, digestible snippets of gold that parents could read at their own time, or teachers, or anyone working with children, and just take what they wanted and leave what they didn't. And so I put it together. I connected with an artist over in Saudi Arabia, beautiful lady, and we put the book together over about a year, and we launched it about 18 months ago. And I think about 6 months ago, it was number one in multiple countries on Amazon. I just want your readers to know that although it sells lots of copies, I literally make about 40 cents every time a book's sold. So I don't do it for the money. I really did it because I thought it was needed in the world. I thought it was something that was missing, and now it's there, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm very proud that you're running a book club on it. That's why I'm here. So thank you.
And I love that you did. And it really speaks to how authentic your commitment is. I really think it's a book full of golden nuggets. These bookmarks are not in preparation for book club. When I was reading it, I put these notes in because the pieces resonated with me. So with your permission, I'm just going to grab some of them and we'll discuss them together. So the first nugget that I put my post-it on is this: always get your children to school on time. Now, this resonated with me as a parent and as a school leader. And I would love to hear from Well, let me read you a little bit about what it says. It says acceptance is a huge part of every primary school classroom. The moment a child walks into the classroom, they are silently asking themselves, who will I sit with? Who will I play with? Can I complete the task set by the teacher? All of these wheels are set in motion in the first 10 minutes of every single day. So for me, the experience of arriving late in a classroom is like the experience of missing the first 10 minutes of a movie. You can enjoy the rest of the movie, but you always know that you missed that setup. My children are lucky. The primary school that my kids go to is very, very lovely. I've moved them all schools, so I've been in some less lovely schools. But this school, they have a soft entry. And my 8-year-old and I, Sarah, we aim to be there right at the beginning of soft entry because she feels the benefit of that soft entry. So, Gavin, can I hand over to you first, please, and tell us why you included
Sorry,
always.
what's a soft entry?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Kamal. You're very good at doing that. You did it to us last time. I really appreciate that. Soft entry means before the teacher starts running the class, taking register, starting the first lesson, doing all the organizational and administrative things that happen at the beginning of the day, there's this time for them to be in the classroom. Sometimes they socialize, sometimes the teacher puts out some work for them to do or some activities on the tables. But what they have is that time to find their feet in the classroom before the teaching day actually starts. It's quite a formal school, the school that I send to. So it's not a Montessori school. I wish it was. But having those quiet settling moments at the beginning they're right. It feels soft rather than a hard start. It's a soft time for them that Sarah really enjoys. Gavin, can you talk to us, please, about getting into school early, and then we'll open up the conversation to the group.
Sure. So obviously I'm a school teacher for a long time and a school principal. And as you said, getting to the cinema 10 minutes late, yes, you missed the first part of the movie, but you can catch up. The essence of this part of the book, this page, is about anxiety, really. And children and all of us, if you walk into a meeting, a board meeting or some governance meeting, and you're 10 minutes late, you've missed the, what's going to happen. Here's the layout of today's meeting. You're already behind. You're already, on the back foot. And with children, they want to feel part of the cogs which make up the machine, which is education, which is their classroom. And as I said in the text, when you read that out so beautifully, you walk in late, then your two best friends have already decided where they're sitting for lunch. They've already had that conversation. The other guys have decided what game they're playing on the playground at playtime and lunchtime. And automatically, you're out of the loop as a child. And being out of the loop, being not included, being not a part of that whole planning process of what's happening in the day, it absolutely encourages anxiety to build. And when children are anxious, when they're nervous, you find that their reptilian brain switches on, it's flight or fight, and it's very hard to learn. And so the idea is not getting there early, but get there on time, so that when you walk in the room, you're with everybody else, it's all equal. Those conversations that are being had with the other students about where they're sitting, what game they're playing, blah, 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 you're in the loop. And when you're in the loop, your anxiety levels are lower. And when they're lower, you learn better and you learn more. And it's very good for parents as well at the same time to model punctuality and model time management, because we all know that when you're late to something, you feel bad automatically. And it's not good to set that example of like, hey, it doesn't matter if we're late. It does matter if you're late. That's other people's time. So the idea is really based around anxiety.
There's a lot of modeling in this book, Gavin. I think that's one of the strongest threads that I've pulled out. Caroline, you wanted to contribute. Go ahead.
Hi, lovely to meet you this morning, Gavin, and see you in such a beautiful place.
Hi.
I'm just sat in the rainy Leeds. I haven't read your book yet, but I'm fascinated to read it, and because I do a lot of work with parents and parenting groups. So the fact that you've based this book on all the questions that you get asked and have been asked over time is really interesting and perfect for me. I'm actually going live in my own group at 11:30, talking about back to schoolitis, and all the difficulties and anxieties that go on around children going back to school after a holiday. So thank you for turning up at this moment, at this perfect time for talking about that, because it's something I'm going to mention as well as something that they might like to have a go at reading themselves. I wondered what your thoughts were, though, about those children who have particular needs, who are actually more anxious about the idea of coming in with everybody than if they have a separate coming in time. And I wondered what your thoughts were about that.
Right. Well, that's a very interesting point, actually. And, you know, one common misconception, and I've made this myself, this is a faux pas I made for the first, let's say, 10 years of my teaching career, was that many teachers think that the surprise element of, hey guys, while you're away on your holidays, children, I'm going to redesign the whole classroom. I'm going to move the tables. I'm going to put up new posters, new displays. I'm going to change the setup of the tables. Children walk into that space and they find themselves feeling out of their depth because things that they knew, the places of where things were are not there anymore. And as a child, to feel really comfortable, you need to know what you're walking into. You actually don't want children revel in consistency of teacher, consistency of space. So one way around that anxiety, especially if those children have a lot of anxiety of coming back, is when the term is ending or the half term is ending, to redesign that space with the children in mind. Hey guys, wouldn't it be lovely if our classroom looks slightly different? We've got a couple of days before we break up for the half term holidays. Let's do it together. Let's take the posters down. Let's move the tables. Let's set the classroom up for next term collectively. And then if anything does change over those holidays, then an email goes home to those parents with pictures of the new assistant who's coming or the pet that you've got over the holidays or whatever it's going to be. And what you find then at that point, because I've had this too, in a Montessori school, we attract children with lots and lots of additional needs. It's very common. What you find is that when they know what they're coming to, exactly, every corner, where's the bookcase, what new books do we have, they're less likely to go into flight or fight mode. And the more that we can include those children with additional needs as being normal and being part of, we all have anxiety, it's part of being a human being. The more that we can less stigmatize that, as in, hey, you come in at a different time, you come in with a carer, the more that we can integrate them into that and get the support from within the classroom, from within the students, the less anxious those children will feel. So, yeah, I wanted just to say that, because I think a lot of the teachers do that around the world now. They redesign it as a nice surprise when the kids come back. But actually, it's a huge problem.
That's so insightful. That's so insightful. And what I love is that you didn't say, don't make changes. You said, make changes intentionally, co-create those changes with the children, and do it in a way that gives them plenty of time to anticipate and wrap their heads around what to expect next. I think that's really, really mindful. And I also feel that putting the child's anxiety and their sense of calm and availability for learning, even in those changes, those structural changes that you'll make to your classroom, is super intentional. But what it did resonate with me was there's one golden nugget here at the back, which made me really uncomfortable, because it says that I should read every email and note that comes home from my kids' schools. So I've got my heart on my sleeve here, Gavin. I have 5 kids. Okay. The eldest is 17 and the youngest is 8. Each child has a WhatsApp group for the class, a WhatsApp group for the boys in the class, a WhatsApp group for the girls in the class. The emails that come through as announcements, the emails that come through, the messages that come through on an app that the school creates, positive and negative behavior alerts all through the day, which is a whole nother subject, and a million other ad hoc communications. I really, really struggle as a mum. I know I should read everything. I know I shouldn't miss any parents' event, but there is so much going on and I struggle with headspace. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that obviously it depends on the situation. There's so many variables. I feel that, communication from schools has to be concise. It has to be targeted. You know, the old saying, over communication, you can never over communicate. Well, you can, because
You
there's
can now.
communication overload. Yeah, you certainly can. So, you know, ultimately, what I mean by that is filter through, make sure that if a newsletter's coming out or is the bulletin, then that's very important. You know, where the events are, what's happening in school. Ultimately, your child wants, you know, the old saying, 140 hours at home. Sorry, your child spends 140 hours at school every month and 540 at home per month with you. So if you know what's going on in school, you can be an active participant in their education. If you don't know, it's very hard. If you don't know what subjects are coming up this term, if you don't know what events are happening, you know, it's very hard for you to have those conversations around the dinner table or talk about the theme of the week and those kind of things. But obviously, you can't read everything. There's too much coming your way. But, you know, making sure you get the newsletter every 2 weeks and you read through it carefully, making sure that you get those bulletins where dates and events are coming. I think those things are very important. The other things, obviously, it's to your discretion to filter those out. But if you're getting too much, the option is to have a conversation with the school to say, this is too much for me. I can't cope with this. Can you please filter it through? But yeah, there is also another option of using AI now to, at the end of the week, put all of your emails into AI and say, could you bullet point everything that's happened in the school and send me 10 bullet points that tell me what's going on? You'll get that. So yeah, look, yeah, maybe it is a bit much if you've got 5 children, of course, but there are some things that you definitely need to know.
I love that idea of asking AI to summarize. That's a fantastic idea. Caroline, have you ever heard of that before?
No, but I think it's brilliant. I do think schools need to also to be careful about how much they communicate, because I think it's very easy to get stuck in that trap of saying we must tell the parents everything and keep them all in the loop. But actually that becomes very overwhelming, as you've identified there. It can become very overwhelming and actually cause a barrier and a switch off. So it's a bit of a fine balance, I think. But a great idea having AI just going, yeah, here's everything.
Okay, so let's consider this for a second. So one of the things I know about you, Gavin, is that you are really committed to teachers being trusted. That's always been a strong message in everything that I've seen you do. And on the other hand, you just described a decade where you were making a mistake in changing your classroom in the winter holidays, right? So we have this balance that we have to find between trusting teachers, but realizing that they could make a mistake like that classroom rearrangement, or like over communicating as they find their way with different communication tools. We are all learning here, which on the one hand makes us all trustworthy, but also sort of, you know, prone to mistakes. So how do we find that balance as a parent and as an educator to say, on the one hand, I'm trustworthy, but on the other hand, I actually don't know all the answers?
Very tricky. However, the point here is that you take the village school approach, and this is a kind of a double-edged sword, because schools are reluctant to let parents become involved in the education of their children. No, if parents come in, they'll see what I'm doing, they'll see under the hood and I'm doing something, and they'll criticize me, it'll be in the WhatsApp group, and I'll be all over the newspapers in a week.
That's right.
The reality is that if it's a two-way street of trust, and parents are involved in what's going on in the classroom and accepted to come into the room and be in the space and be an active participant in the thing that we call a curriculum. And similarly, teachers and parents are communicating, you know, so that education goes home and education comes into school. There's no barrier between where the classroom ends and the real world starts outside. Then you find that that situation is diluted, because if parents have got qualms and issues, then it's very nice, transparent conversation to have with the teacher. It's not a criticism. It's like, you know, something that you'd like to see, and teacher takes it on. And similarly, the parents send things home that hopefully transpires in the household too. So the more that we can break down that barrier of home and school, the easier that transition becomes, you know. So, and the better it turns out for the children. That you find, parents are very wary so teachers are very wary of parents. Parents can be highly critical behind the scenes, and those criticisms can creep back to the teacher, and they feel heartbroken that they're trying their best. But ultimately, like you said, you know, we're all growing. You can't steer a ship that's not moving. So everyone's moving forward, parents and teachers. So it's a learning process for everyone. And I feel bad for rearranging my classroom for 8 years, of course, and I probably caused children a lot of anxiety during that time, but I was keen to learn more, and as I did, I learned that was the wrong thing to do, and I'm probably making mistakes all the time, which we all are, but we can't be criticized for that as long as we're trying our best.
I agree. I think it's about innocence there, isn't it? Those mistakes that you made were innocent, and the minute you saw better, you did better. And it's such a neutral example, so it's a nice one to pick on. But I think let me tell you something personal. I worked in a village school. The school that I used to run is at the bottom of my road, and two of my daughters were in the school, and all the mums were also my friends. So it was a really close-knit space, and I was constantly struggling with how formal to be, how much distance to create, what serves the stakeholders, and where to remove barriers and where not to. And the concept of qualified tutor, the concept of supporting tutors, came out of a specific moment where I stood at the school gates and I saw the distance, metaphorically and literally, that the school gates creates between home and school. And I saw that tutors cross that divide, and that tutors actually get much, much closer to families, and that we, in a way, have a bridge. We can create a bridge between home and school, which I think is really interesting. But now I want to give you guys a different golden nugget. This is one of my favorites. It says, allow your child to choose their own clothing. If they want to wear their clothes backwards, allow it. Misbah, what do you think?
I think I don't know where you come from on this, Gavin, but I believe this is extremely important to make them understand how decision making works. Because specifically in the Asian cultures, what we do is see is a lot of our decisions are made by elders. And they come with the proposition that we've been there, we know, so we will choose the best for you. Somehow they become so dependent upon those decisions that eventually when they grow up, they're never able to take any kind of decision themselves. For everything they want to ask people, for everything they want consultations, they have no mind. I'm sorry if I'm being a little more here on this, but at times they have no mind of their own. And it's always other people's decisions. So every decision that we take, and I've been through that all my life, every decision that you take is influenced by how people think and what people would want to know and how people would want to see you and what society does and what society thinks. I think starting from this early age of, even if they want to wear their clothes up, inside out, let them do it and let them see what the consequences are. I mean, let them fall so that it hurts, okay, when they fall, it hurts. Yes, it does. But unless they fall, they would not know what the consequence of their decision was. And they will never be able to take the right decision. So I love this. Thank you.
I love it too.
Favorite.
Gavin will come back in. I think he lost his connection for a second, but I absolutely love it too. And I think your point about really what you're speaking about there is resilience, right? Yes. So you have to learn that it's okay to fall because you can still get up. Yeah. So if you wear your clothes backwards, it doesn't say anything about you except that's the choice you made today. Really, it just tells me that you're a choice maker. Yeah. But there are stigmas, and there are different stigmas in different cultures. So in my culture, I used to let my little ones go out. My favorite outfit was shorts and wellies. Yeah. So it was wet weather, so he was wearing wellies, but he was comfortable in shorts. So he looked like Christopher Robin. He used to go out in shorts and wellies, and he looked so yummy. There's in the UK, I think we're okay with children wearing their clothes backwards. But where are you at the moment, Misbah? Remind me where you're based.
I am in Dubai right now.
Okay. So in different cultures, there are different expectations of conformity, right? And compliance. And exactly like you said so beautifully, we know better, we've been there, we'll guide you. But the problem is, when that generation grows up, they're not ready to be leaders themselves. So for me, there's something really fundamental here about allowing children to make choices, because that's how you raise the next generation of leaders. Otherwise, we're just raising followers.
Absolutely. Never decision making. I mean, it's worse in the Asian culture where every decision is just an influence decision. Every decision.
Every decision is just?
It's just an influence decision. So it's never your own decision. It's about how, people will perceive it. So.
Oh, that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that with me. Is there anyone else who would like to?
Miss Bar, is it a different way that females are treated?
No, not at all. Not at all. So no, it's about children as a whole. It's not about how females are treated separately and how men are treated separately. I have seen, I think, in specifically in the Asian culture, and I'd say India and Pakistan, because I come from Pakistan, and I've seen more women taking their own decisions now, instead of men. So men are more prone towards how people will think and what my brother will think and what my dad will think and what the society will think and what will happen. And even business decisions, I've seen them taking a lot of influence decisions, and it's more with men than with women.
That's very
Because
interesting. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, so with all the feminism and a lot of activities and everything, I think women have started creating their own line and have started talking more. And I'm extremely Eastern, by the way. So I'm very conservative. Even then, I would say I think decisions have to be your own, good or bad. That's okay.
So there's a beautiful book called Freakonomics, which is quite old now. I think it's about 20 years old.
Yes.
And it's, you know it?
Yes, I'm a finance person, remember?
I
So, yeah.
love those books. So in the first one, he talks about names, and he talks about girls' names and boys' names, and how as a culture, we tend to choose more traditional boys' names, and we have more freedom to be creative with girls' names. Because it's to do with perception for employability. So you will find it easier to get a job as a boy if you're called Thomas or John or Andrew in the UK. But a girl can have a name like Saffron or, River or Rain and still be taken seriously, because there's just a softness. There's more freedom for creativity on the female side, and there's more expectation for conformity on the male side. So that parallels nicely with what you've just said. Would you agree?
I completely do. Yes, absolutely. And so imagine even something as basic as choosing a name.
Yeah.
How
Well,
many things that
it's
we do.
foundational choosing a name.
Yes.
You chart an entire course when you choose a name. Okay, I've got two more golden nuggets for you. I do hope Gavin will come back. This is the next one.
Julia, before you move on, I think I needed this right now. I needed to get into this call right now. Thank you.
It's always meant to be, because there's always changes that happen behind the scenes, and you think, oh, it's going to go differently today, and this is what happened. So look, so it says count. You see the child there walking downstairs. It says count at every opportunity and skip count. Trees, stones, cars, aeroplanes. Maths is sometimes a difficult subject to teach, and it is often avoided by children. This is due to the fact that it is black and white, either right or wrong, and children have a fear of being wrong. One way parents and carers can mitigate this is by helping children to understand that maths is in everything around us, from nature to the human body, in space, and even in light. What are your thoughts about count at every opportunity?
I think I'm having trouble between connecting the two concepts, where they're talking about count at every opportunity, and then they're talking about maths and how we perceive the rest of the things in life as maths and right and wrong and black and white, and there is no gray matter. Has been has been something that has disturbed me for a very long time now, because and I've been a finance person, so very 2 + 2 4 type, where I guess 5 years back. Now if somebody tells me, I'm like, okay, there is a gray matter too. So I don't know how to connect these two concepts that you just spoke about, but this thing just caught my attention is at times when you're too academic as well, So when you're a very good student, and that's what I was at one point in time. So I was a very good student, very good in finance, very good with maths. And hence for me, everything was either yes or no, right or wrong. And there was no concept of perception of, half glass half empty or half glass half full concept was never there. With time, I've learned that there is always a gray matter.
A gray
So yes,
area.
2
Yeah.
plus 2 can actually be 22 as well.
Okay. That's very nicely put. So I think the point that he's making here is really much, much simpler. I think he's talking about child development. And I think he's talking about those moments when we walk around in the world with our little people and having the opportunity to do things like counting and noticing and stopping and picking up a leaf. It's about bringing the school into everyday life. Yeah. And I think that what happens is our children learn that learning is in the classroom. And the goal for parents is to take learning out of the classroom and show them that it's the fabric of life. So whether it's maths or whether it's speaking and listening. So Caroline, who was here before, has a strong focus on oracy. So teaching children to count or to listen and speak articulately is something that we can do with them, which has massive educational goals, massive educational outcomes for them. But we as parents or tutors working closely with children can focus on these things as part of everyday life. And that's what I took to be the point of this. It's about the everydayness of it. Andrea, are you listening? Because you're an early years person, aren't you? Andrea, do you want to jump in? No, you have to unmute first. She's putting her, I'm going to unmute you. Should I do that? Let me press the button for you. I'm going to press ask to unmute, so you just have to okay it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Tell us about counting everywhere. Tell us about skip counting and noticing learning as you're walking through everyday life with children. Oh, we lost her Wi-Fi. Nara, are you with us? Would you like to contribute? Nara, are you with us? Okay. So the puppy's just woken up. Let me take you on to the last one that I've noted. If Andrea wants to come back, she can. It says like this. So it's a picture of a little girl making her bed. And it says, do not offer material rewards. Success in itself is the reward for finishing a project. Parents and carers can sometimes be tempted to offer rewards and incentives to children in order to get them to complete a project. However, this runs the risk of teaching children that something is only worth doing for the reward received after. Instead, teach your child to value the work they are doing on the project itself. Thus, the accomplishment they feel when they finish the project serves as a reward enough for them. Teach children that success lies in creating something and completing it. True fun is in the journey, not the destination. I know. Andrea, I'll come back to you in just a second. Misbah, why did that resonate with you? Tell me.
I love this. I love this. I was just sitting with my team right now, and we were speaking about competition. And you know how Tony Robbins says competition is only with you? The problem is the whole grading system. Everything actually in our lives, whether it's education or anything else, is attached to a material benefit. Whether it's a grade or a cup of ice cream. So, if you complete this, I'm going to give you a cup of ice cream. If you read 2 pages, I will give you a pound. That's how children are asked to read. Or if you get an A, then you were outstanding. So the whole concept of competition and getting an A, and I remember when I was young, and I would do something, and my siblings would tell me, and I'm the eldest, so they would say, okay, all right, so what's the benefit? Why did you do this?
Mm.
So I would take a course because I love meditation or I love mind sciences, and I would just take that course and they'd say, okay, now what benefit are you going to take out of this? So how are you going to use this as a business? And I'm like, some things are just without benefits, okay? I love this. I mean, somehow it did benefit me, okay? It made me a person. But that is not what is counted as a benefit. So everything that we do in our lives is attached to a certain reward. And I don't know how we will change the complete mindset.
I heard a beautiful story that I know you will love, Ms. Bah. I heard a story about a fisherman who finished fishing today for the day, and he has his feet up by the pier. And a passerby walks past and says, why aren't you working? And he says, because I fished enough fish for today. And the passerby said, well, why don't you go and fish some more and then you can sell them? Why would I do that? Well, because if you sell them, you'll have money. You can buy a boat. You can buy a team of fishermen. Why would I do? You can buy more nets. Why would I do that? Because then you can fish more fish. You can sell more fish. Why would I do that? So I can retire. So I can put my feet up by the pier. And the man said, I was already here. Why did I need to go through that whole journey? I had enough to start with, right? So the whole thing of what you just said there about I learned for myself and it made me a person. That's what we want for our children. That's what we want for our students. We want them to have a love of learning that takes them way beyond an exam. Because to change their lives doesn't just mean to get an A grade. It means to give them learning power to go into their future with. And in order to do that, they have to have intrinsic motivation. So we talk in teaching about metacognition and self-regulation. So those are principles of being able to regulate your processes. So study skills is about self-regulation, and controlling your eating is about self-regulation. Anything that enables you to choose to do the thing that you really want rather than following your urges helps you to self-regulate. And we know that some of our students, some of our young people, and some of us adults too, have all sorts of neurodiversities that make it difficult for us to self-regulate. And then there's metacognition. So metacognition is the process of understanding how you're thinking, understanding your learning process, and then optimizing it. I know that I learn best working with people. So I would much rather participate in a group discussion than learn by myself. So those metacognitive skills teach us to study. Now, if you tell me that you're going to give me a prize at the end, I literally cannot hear myself think. I'm so focused on the prize that I cannot read my own signals. I'm so focused on the salary, on the bonus, on the grades, on the competition, that I'm constantly externally focused and I'm not reading my own process. So extrinsic motivation, giving rewards, paying a child for tidying their bedroom, undermines the entire learning process and entire life outcomes. For me, that's immense. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Kamal, go ahead.
Can I just say what the exception is with the students who have something like ADHD or something like the Asperger, and for them, I had a student, and he just would not. He got very frustrated when I tried to go through the material, and he would say, "Oh, I know this, I know this, I know this." And he would only study when he could see the benefit, how he could benefit. So, I mean, I was teaching him psychology, and he said, I am only doing this because he was, I mean, super intelligent. And he would, in his room, he would do trading, foreign exchange. He said, it helps me to understand the psychology of others. That's why I'm doing it.
Fantastic.
It had a benefit, has to have a benefit. So, I mean, I agree with you, but some students don't see things that way. They have to see maybe not little small benefits like sweets, but they need to see where is it taking them.
Kamal,
I think that is in a way that is sensible as well. So I don't disagree with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. I think that example of the boy who was seeing the purpose in the learning, that's perfection. That's exactly what you're looking for, because he's
Yeah.
looking about how he's going to apply that learning. That's very intrinsic as a motivation.
But the downside is that anything you see, you can't just do something. You have to take baby steps. And
Yeah.
he didn't, he got frustrated with those baby steps.
I
Then he got really angry. He said, why are you teaching me? I know this. Whatever I was teaching in business. He said, I know all this. You're wasting my time. And he got really angry. I mean, I had to leave the lesson because he said, oh, this is frustrating with
I'm
so
sorry,
that is the
Kamal.
downside of it as well. Yeah.
That's very difficult. That's very, very difficult. And I wonder
Yeah.
what you could have done to break down his big purpose to tie things back to it. So, if you could say, this is going to help you in this way to relate to that person. You said that it was a foreign exchange, did you say?
Yes, he sits in his bedroom trading,
Oh,
all kinds
trade.
of trading. Yes, because
Trade.
he's so
Right. Right.
super intelligent. He's
Yeah,
almost, I
yeah.
mean, he's a genius level.
Yeah.
But you see, this is what I mean. When he was small, when he was at school, he used to take over the lesson, the lesson, and he will start teaching the students, and the teacher sitting there getting really frustrated. So the
Yeah.
teacher had resented him and
Miss
called
Van,
him all kinds of
yeah.
things. Yes, this is the thing. So
For a child to be teaching his peers,
yeah,
an awesome thing. It's not a
yeah,
problem.
yeah.
That's a credit. Yeah.
Yes, but it was like he's so volatile. It's like I mean, you never know how he's going to. I mean, more or less, but it's like dealing with nitroglycerine. It's very powerful, but he needed to be dealing with. Yeah.
It's a very difficult way for him to
Yes,
live.
yes,
Hey, it's
yes,
very,
yes,
so
yes,
that
yes.
takes us right back to the self-regulation. And I think it is worth remembering that Gavin is right not to pay children to tidy their bedrooms, right? But I have a friend who has a little boy who has just been diagnosed with ADHD, and he is the most yummy child you could hope to meet. He really, really struggles to self-regulate. And there are all sorts of tools that you can use to help him. And some of them are making sure that he sleeps enough, right? Making sure that he's eating properly. Some of them are making sure that there's enough stimulation in the classroom. But teachers will use a sticker chart with him. They will say, complete this task, I'll give you a sticker. Complete that task, I'll give you a sticker. And actually, I would argue that there's nothing wrong with that strategy, because the child needs wins. He needs to be able to see himself making progress. And as long as you can manage those sticker charts so that he doesn't grow up to need sticker charts when he's an adult, right? As long as you can use it in a way that is age appropriate, it creates structure. So that boy who feels to you like nitroglycerin, Kamal, he's craving structure. Andrea, did you want to contribute? Because we lost you when we called on you earlier. Go ahead, please. No, you're still on mute, but I've pressed your button. So if you can, there you go. Go ahead.
Everything really that's been said is resonating with me. I found out about 4 years ago that I have adult ADHD. Basically, I've always had it. It's not been a problem until I found out, but it's been good when I found out. When I was young, I'm half Nigerian. My mother's English, my father's Nigerian. They left me with my grandparents because they were afraid of the jungle and everything. It was good. I was brought up and heard and read from my mother and father, and saw my mother when she came and temped here for years and things. I just felt loved and educated. There were books. They were poor. They were working class, my grandparents. They bought the Reader's Digest, everything. And, I was different, the only brown child in white working class area in Leeds. I knew it, but I didn't really care. I thought I was rather special. I was very clever. I was a girl. The teachers were fantastic in the Hunslet Cast School. They had 40 children or more. They had groups of children. I was on the group of the good, clever children. We did, we were just, I had my Kit Kat stolen, even though my grandma wrote my name on it. I had my Kit Kat stolen. There were gypsies or Romans, but they were called gypsies then. And the boy was accused of stealing a Tressie doll, which was like Barbie in those days. And, she saw the hair dangling down. I don't think it was true. He was victimized. And I knew it. I was a little girl and I knew that was wrong. I was always the friend of the disabled child. I played with the little children that had come down from the south who stood by the wall, and I stood with them. Cheryl, I've got a photographic memory, and she showed me the bruises that her dad had bruised her with and burnt her with, etc. And then I was clever. My dad paid for me to go to Leeds Girls High School. Fantastic education. Really, fun and good, and except that I was clever and did well in my O levels at science, so they made me do science, and I wanted to do singing and acting and English and blah de blah. But I had music at home and everything. So when I was 6, I said, I've written a play. I will direct it. The cast is, and this is about a magpie and a ring, and we can do the first scene in assembly. It is a wedding, and he's the groom, the blah. It was performed. The teachers thought, good. But they thought by the time I was 7, I was chosen as, with my best friend to tidy up the cray pass that the Year 7 children had left in a mess, and that was nice and everything. But I was talked to the boy that was always naughty, and I talked to all of the children. And one day in the top class, I hit a boy on the head with a ruler. I was so good. I was the best girl. This was not the next school I went to, but it was working class. And the teacher said, Andrea, why did you hit Glenn on the head with a ruler? And I said, because he was getting on my nerves. He was making fun of me in maths lesson. A bit later on, in that same lesson, the teacher said, well, he's getting on my nerves as well. I didn't get into trouble. I got chosen to be friends with the shyest little girl, to go and tidy up the plant pots. And we were in a cupboard. We didn't know, but the teachers were listening. And we were tidying up plant pots, and they had plastic plant pots. They had little bits of plastic on the top of them. And me and Karen, she said, I said to her, oh, look, a dead pigeon. And then, and I'm a vegetarian and compassionate to animals, but I wasn't then, but I was. But, we were laughing every time we put one out of the box and a dead pigeon, laugh, 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 ha, ha, ha. And I was kind.
Andrea, I'm gonna pause you here, my darling. Thank you so much. I have to share with you that whenever we talk, you're so in tune with yourself as a child, and it was a perfect way for us to draw this conversation together, because what's beautiful about this child is focusing on the potential of every child. And when you talk about yourself as feeling loved, and the context of yourself and the people around you, and being kind to other children, and the teacher agreeing with you that, yeah, that boy's annoying me too, it's a great leveler. It's a great leveler, because it shows us that really this is us as well. The potential in every child is not just the children we're working with, it's also the child inside each of us. And going through that process of recognizing and valuing and nurturing the child within ourselves, as well as the children that we work with, is, I think, one of the most powerful things that we can do as a community. So it's an ambitious goal, but how can you possibly support children unless you're supporting yourself? How can you possibly be kind to children and develop children unless you are kind to yourself and develop yourself? So I really appreciate, Andrew, your story about being a little girl, you know, writing a play about a magpie and a ring, because I'm that little girl too. And it's a lovely level to finish this conversation on. That's exactly right, Ms. Bayer. It's the inner child. That's exactly right. So I think I'm going to start wrapping up this conversation here. It was such a treat that Gavin joined us for half of it. So thank you so much, Gavin. We really appreciated that. This session is always people coming in and going out, but there's always this sense of value of bringing good questions to each other and exploring interesting ideas together. Thank you so much for participating in it. I want to just take a minute to share with you what's going on in Qualified Tutor at the moment, because there's such a lot going on and tutoring is such an interesting space in education at the moment that I would really love to share with you how Qualified Tutor is participating in that, with your permission. So there's a few things I need to let you know about. Firstly, the Qualified Tutor directory is the place to find certified tutors. What is a certified tutor? A certified tutor is somebody who has evidenced that they have enhanced DBS on the update service, that they have insurance, safeguarding training, policies and procedures, which includes their terms and conditions to create transparency with the client. And then, of course, client reviews. So a minimum of 5 client reviews. Somebody who has evidenced all of those things can become Qualified Tutor certified and will be listed on our directory, which is the Qualified Tutor directory. It's very easy for parents and schools to find. Also, if you're running a tutoring business, you can easily recruit using our certified tutors because you know that those are safe people who will represent your brand properly. It's a trusted source. Now, we've also added a really, really special edition that we're very, very proud of, which is anybody who is listed on the Qualified Tutor directory, we will check their DBS daily. Every day we will check that they are continue to be safe with students. So a police check is only as good as the day that it was done, right? So we do it every day. So Qualified Tutor Certified is a fantastic foundation for a trustworthy tutor. If you become a Qualified Tutor member, which isn't expensive at all, it's $19.99 for a month or £199 for the whole year. You get the Qualified Tutor membership card, which is a digital credential verified on the blockchain. Then we invite you to become certified and we list you on our directory. Then we invite you to participate in our awards, which doesn't cost any money. It simply gives you a chance to continue to level up. We ask you to evidence your qualifications, your experience, your CPD. And by doing that, what we're able to do is then take you from member to certified member to advanced member to mastery level member. Why? Because this is a process of growth that we are participating in together. We are not judging, we are just collecting evidence. But what we also run at the same time is training and qualifications. Everything that we do is CPD accredited, and our certification process is also CPD accredited, which means that we are being quality assured. That's really important for us. We need to make sure that anything that we are presenting to tutors is rigorous, is robust, as well as being generous and innovative. So the certification process is something that's well established now, and we would love you to participate in. I also want to share with you that the benefits of Qualified Tutor membership are entirely transformational. So I've been working with tutors now for 4 years, and tutors change when they're members of our community. We see them grow and flourish. We see them have words for their own professionalism. We see them build confidence and build businesses based on the work that we do together. Because we are colleagues here, not competitors, and because tutors need tutors. So we are a really warm community of supportive professionals. On the outside, we have this certification process to help us to engage with our clients, On the inside, we have this nurturing space, which is represented by our community, which is a community app. It's a really rich knowledge center with lots of information to support every type of tutor. And then we have a WhatsApp group, which is our inner circle, where we connect and share, make announcements, ask questions, nudge each other, remind each other, send pictures of our children and our pets, all of those informal, lovely, close elements. That's where that happens. And then we have our events. Now, the next big event coming up, we have events all through the year. We run festivals every season. So we just had the autumn festival. We've got the spring festival coming up. The Love Tutoring Festivals are about bringing expertise together so that we're continually developing our professionalism. We have live in-person meetups hosted by our mastery level tutors. And those are free. Everything's free and available for anybody to join because we really want to just bring you what you need. And then finally, the big event that we have coming up in January is Love Tutoring at BET. So BET is the biggest education technology expo in the world. And we have been invited to run a 3-day program within the Excel building on behalf of BET. So Qualified Tutor is running Love Tutoring at BET. But of course, we know that not everybody can get on a train. Not everybody can book 3 days out of work. Not everybody can get on a plane and join us in the UK. And therefore, we've created a hybrid event. So you can attend in person and it's free, or you can attend online. And the digital experience is going to be astonishing. We've partnered with Class In and Virtual Days to create an immersive digital experience. So you'll feel like you're with us, even when you're online. You'll be totally warm, welcomed in, facilitated and included in all the conversations. There are so many right ways of learning together, and that's what we're looking to explore. So over the 3 days, there are some themes that we're going to be pulling out. The first is the future of education, Education 3.0, and what is the tutor's place in it? Because I believe tutors are front and center in a customized, personalized approach to the future of education. Then we'll be looking at the National Tutoring Programme, which is the UK's project launched during COVID to help children catch up after COVID, It was investment that went into specifically disadvantaged students, placing tutors in schools to help them to accelerate their progress. That program is coming to an end, and it's very interesting. We've got some of the people who delivered and some of the people who gathered the evidence on the impact of that event, quality assurance and researchers, policymakers, all coming together to evaluate how the NTP went and what we can learn from it. Then on Thursday, we're going to be looking at online schooling, world schooling, and alternative provision. These are the frontiers of tutoring right now, and I find it very, very important for tutors to find their place in it. Tutors should not wait to pick up private tuition work in the traditional way that we did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We need to be forging ahead because education is changing and they need us to be ready. And then finally, the Friday, I have a few really juicy keynotes up my sleeve. So please do book out 24th, 25th, and 26th of January to join us either in person or online. It's going to be a memory maker, and I promise you it will leave you feeling inspired for the rest of your year in tutoring. So thank you, my friends, for participating. I finished 3 minutes over. I'm so sorry about that. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Thank you, Misbah. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Kamal. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Ayush. And thank you so much to Gavin, Caroline, Sarah, and all of our Nara and all of our participants on LinkedIn, YouTube, and beyond. Thank you for your time. All the best.